Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back after a very long break to the Onyx Watch campaign, where we are very close to finishing off the Onyx Watch once and for all, and moving on to the next campaign. I'm still not quite sure which campaign we will be moving to, be it a normal faction campaign, or be it one of the newer worlds, like the Ashes of Singularity? Or whatever that one's actually called. And, very surprisingly, welcome back to the Vulture. Now, for people who have been watching my adventure series, you will very well know what the Vulture is. It's an attack helicopter, it has long-range advanced cannons, and it has torpedoes, and it's meant to be fully manually controlled. Well, what you're seeing in front of you is what happens when you put a firework AI directly into the heart of a Vulture. And of course, I've also altered a lot of the stuff to make it AI friendly, like the spin blocks and everything like that, which doesn't naturally play nice with a aerial AI. And I am somewhat happy with the result, because we're going to be bringing these into the campaign, not as a replacement for the firework, because for the cost, this is nowhere near as good, but just for a bit of fun. It still has torpedoes, it still has sonar torpedoes, and it has its lovely cannons. I may also make it have the ability to transmit its sonar capabilities to my other ships. I'm not quite sure yet, as I haven't yet put all of the detection systems onto the Battleship, which I will do very soon, and I've also not tested out this lovely vessel against any enemies. So before we go into the campaign, let's quickly spawn in something nice and harmless, like perhaps a... actually, what should I spawn in? I've decided we are going to test against the Warden. The Warden is truly a fantastic choice for testing, at least in my opinion. It is the Marauder of the Onyx Watch. It's big, but not too big, it's heavily armoured, but not too heavily armoured, and it's a pretty good medium ship, although it's not all that difficult. And as soon as I spawned it in, all this happened. So one thing I would like to check is if these torpedoes do have the one-turn element, and by the looks of things, they do, which means even if we fire them the wrong way, they should head towards the enemy. The one concern I do have, and it is a pretty big concern, is how this is going to handle turning. I'm really hoping the spin blocks will be correct, and that we will correct ourselves a lot, because I want to try and stay as far away as possible from the enemy. The minimum distance, I believe, is set to 1,000, with attack runs starting at 2,000. So enough of me blathering on, let's have a look at the wanton destruction. Yeah, armor-piercing rounds. So much better than I used to give them credit for. Just look at that! Shredding the metal. That's getting a bit close, though. It should turn around very, very soon. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's going away from the enemy, still shooting torpedoes, which should be turning towards them. Oh, will that hit? I still need to reconfigure the shields. Nope, it won't. Excellent. I wonder where the torpedoes are. Oh, there's one there, and boom! One torpedo hitting the target. Okay, so against the Warden it was a pretty obvious victory. Flyers do counter the Onyx Watch for the most part pretty well, and although the Vulture isn't a particularly good flyer, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't think it's a very good flyer. It's decent when being manually controlled, but it's clearly set up for that. It's not good as a general AI craft, but It'll do the job, and I think it'll be a lot of fun sending these against something like a bulwark. Mostly just to see the Vulture be destroyed, because I haven't seen that yet, because if it had, I would have died in the adventure mode. And don't worry, we will also be using the Battleship. So before we go off and go to the campaign, let's destroy all vehicles, and I would like to show you one change I have made to the Battleship. Apparently I'm currently on the bottom of the ocean. The Battleship still unnamed. Yes, I know, it's terrible. I will name this eventually, I promise. So what I've been doing to the Battleship, I've included a few of the detection systems, not all of them yet, and don't worry, I will do that before going into the campaign, but many of you are going to hate me for this, some of you may love me for this, but I've decided to replace the particle cannon. The reason being, it just wasn't up to my standards, it wasn't doing the job I wanted it to do, and so I thought replacing it with yet another advanced cannon would just serve us better and be a lot more fun, especially since this is heavily inspired by the Vulture's guns. However, whereas the Vulture gun can only fire 300 times per minute, this can fire somewhere in the region of 1,200. Trust me when I say this is for your own good. The gun is deafening to fire, as I just found out, and so I don't have to edit game files, and so I don't have to make sure all the audio levels are okay. Let's just make it a bit less deafening. So then, how fast does this lovely gun fire? The answer is kind of glitchily fast. Let's just quickly go to here, and as you can see, the shots are remarkably quick, and there are a lot of them. The kinetic damage, actually let's have a quick look-see, the kinetic damage is 1,713, the armor piercing is 37. Although the kinetic damage isn't too fantastic, the overall armor piercing of this gun is just mind-boggling in terms of how many times it shoots, and it very quickly completely shreds any AI or vulnerable components. In fact, it has fared so well in the tests, I'm very, very likely to be replacing our main gun with a variant of this, just so we can shred everything we see. No other major changes have really happened to the Battleship between the episodes, just the fact that I've added some detection system work. Most of my time has actually been put into the airship, which I want to bring in for our final battle, and my god is that consuming time. It's been about 40 to 50 hours now, just tinkering with that airborne monstrosity. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip this gun to face backwards to make it look a little bit better, and I'm going to add all the regular detection systems. The problem I've had is, simply put, we don't have a command bridge. We don't have an overarching area which can see absolutely everything, which means I've had to put detection systems everywhere, including on our turrets, which isn't really a bad idea. It just kind of looks like an evil frog face now, staring into your soul. And now you've seen it, like I've seen it, you'll never be able to unsee it. Just testing out to make sure our ship's detection systems are working, and by the looks of things, yes they are. Amazingly, almost all those explosions were coming from the tiny little minigun there, just absolutely removing all of its ammunition stores and such. And both of those were deflected by shields. Very happy with that. Okay, yeah, that seems to be absolutely perfect. Now to add the turret cap and make the gun face backwards, and I'm pretty much done. Isn't it weird when the AI can't quite figure out what blocks are alive and it fires at the centre of mass, which doesn't exist anymore? Well done, Vulture. 2 against 1 fireworks, and you beat them both. To make it look a little bit different from the adventure mode Vulture, we now have this, the Blood Vulture. Exactly the same, just painted very differently. In the traditional paint scheme I was using before I swapped over to the lighter grey and blue paint scheme I'm currently using on the Battleship and on the Firework, it is just very crimson, very dark, and honestly, kind of terrifying to look at. And I'm very tempted to make it look like this in the adventure mode, but not for now. Well, it's time to recap what we were doing. So here we are back into the campaign mode, pushing north towards the Onyx Watch stronghold. So we have our resource gatherer and supply line here, and we have the new place we just captured in this far off land. Now that is what we need to work on very quickly. We need to get the supply line from here all the way stretching over here as well, and that way we have 3 resource zones all working away nicely. Now, we do have this, which originally I didn't go after because it had only crystal, but now that's been converted to material. I may go after that as well, as it has just the regular material, which is everything combined, which is pretty good. That's our battleship, which still needs to be updated, and we have the pinnacle over here, along with the bulwark and a few other things. In fact, the bulwark won't change colours, because I've only changed colours for the Vulture itself. It's individual paint palette, not the standard stuff. Okay, let's get to work fixing stuff, and adding some Vultures to the mix. Then maybe doing a bit of fighting with the Vultures, because that's going to be fun. The first Blood Vulture has been spawned into the campaign, and I would very much like to add some decorations to it in the form of some very creepy looking red lights. So, where's light fitting? There they are. For now, we'll just put it on the top, because that's way easier. And intensity max, and pure red. Oh, that looks so brutally evil. Khorne would be proud of us today. The Blood God. Ah, yeah, forgot about that. The lights are kind of weird. Depending on how many lights you have on your ship, it can glitch out and cause all sorts of problems. So for now, we'll just have the really creepy looking front lights. We'll tweak that off camera, I think. Though now, I feel like we should send this into a fight. I've just had an idea of how we can use the Vulture. We could very easily use them as a patrol vehicle, in that they could ferry resources from one location to the next, to the next, to the next, without the need of setting up the supply lines. The reason why I love the supply lines is just a kind of a flavour thing. I like the idea of having supply piping from one area to the next as a permanent thing, but since that's no longer really how it's going to work, having a small fleet of Vultures working together to ferry resource would be really good, especially since they can hold in excess of 100,000 each. This is going to be a very quick first fight for our little Vulture, so let's spawn it in and get straight into the battle. And there we go, we are firing torpedoes, and the cannons are now firing as well. This thing does have flak weaponry, but in comparison to the Vulture's weapons, it's not really all that strong. Just make sure I'm not holding the weapons there. I feel like some of the advanced cannons hadn't yet fully loaded for the Vulture. Even so, massive amount of damage being done there. Yep, armor-piercing rounds completely gutting the inside. Now let's see, where are those torpedoes? There they are! Let's see how they do as well. A fairly large chunk taken away, and the second one hits, and so does the third. Now the explosions are actually showing. It looks far better. Yeah, 2 of the cannons aren't currently shooting. I imagine I just didn't give them enough chance to fully load. Yeah, definitely. So that was with only 1 cannon active because of my incompetence as a general. I could capture it. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, we're going to go on a bit of a capturing spree. Where is that lovely enemy? There it is. Turn off its AI just for a second. Are you ready to join the circus fleet? Let's just find where the AI is located. So there's some general purpose processing units. That's for the detection system, and if I recall correctly for the ship, the AI should be just underneath that. There it is. Okay, yeah, it's in there. It's in the very heart of the vehicle. The newest member of the glorious circus. Another idea springs to mind. Since we are now using the Vulture, as its name may suggest, as a vulture, picking on the weaker opponents, disabling them, and maybe then capturing them, why don't we swap out our lovely torpedoes for full-on EMP weaponry? This way, the Vulture is going to go around all of these really weak tiles which haven't been reinforced for a very long time, and so we can capture every single vehicle in a very short order. The Vulture is going to be the ultimate high-tech pirate ship. Flyer, helicopter, submarine hybrid. EMP torpedoes are now working, and all three of the guns should be firing. What are we fighting this time? We are fighting against a buttress, a pinnacle, which are both spawning way too close to each other, and a third pinnacle. Not exactly the most threatening of the Onyx Watch arsenal, but even so, let's see how we do. The battle has begun, and instantly the buttress has been completely shredded by the armor-piercing rounds. The torpedoes are now coming up to see just how well they do. And here they come. Not exactly the most agile of weapons, but even so, lots of EMP damage being done. And AI dead. We could have very easily captured that if we were out of the Vulture, but right now it's going to disintegrate long before we can get there. Really should have thought about that. Also, why does everything have flak weapons and missiles at the moment? It's really annoying. Robbing a few advantages from our ship. Vehicle. It's not a ship. Ooh, we've lost our middle turret. Armor-piercing rounds are just so amazing. It really is. And AI dead, this time from the cannons. Yeah, that was a pretty decisive victory. We could have captured two of them then, but I wasn't really prepared for it. I just wanted to see how well they did. Next time we'll capture them. And by the way, I promise the next episode won't just be Vulture battles. In fact, I'm going to try and retrofit the Battleship now just to see how well its machine gun does. Its minigun. Its cool gun. Last Vulture battle of the day before we convert it into a glorified supply vessel, taking material from our current supply line to our front row fighters. So, let's see what we are fighting here. We are fighting against a tiny ship and a pinnacle. Okay, fairly easy prey. And we are already fully healed. This time round, instantly jumping out of the Vulture. Let's see if we can make it there before they go completely AI dead. Already one of them is down. The armor-piercing, incredibly accurate cannons, in addition to those torpedoes, is just really effective at this. Not really a surprise, but even so, it is very, very fun to watch. Wow. That was pretty. Not like I can really see anything. Okay, you turn off. Just turn off. You've done too much. You're going to destroy it. Has it fired any more torpedoes, though? No. The only ones which are in the water at the moment were going for the other ship, which is now dead, so they're long, long gone. And this clearly can't fight anymore. It's either lost its ammunition, or it's lost its local weapons controllers. It's lost a lot. And I can see its AI right there. Let's see if we can get a good grenade shot. Yes, we can, and there we go! Another clown conversion. The clown pirates of the ocean. I would like to think we're doing this purely to humiliate the ships we capture. The retrofit was a success, and now all I need to do is add a turret cap to our new minigun. Please once again bear in mind that this is firing the exact same shells as the Vulture is, and we've seen how effective that is, except for it's firing them over 100 times as fast. It's going to be pretty good. What we really need is a new iron hook or a very cheap satellite system, because I'm pretty much going into the dark right now. Completely blind and a little bit helpless. Tiny little satellite. I will build you next time. Who are we fighting against? We are fighting against nothing really of note. It seems like the enemy, despite the fact I've put them on maximum spawn rate, they add more to their army as fast as possible, still aren't adding very quickly, but saying that it is pretty much the end of this campaign now. We have so much dominant area and so much resource, it is going to be pretty much kicking a dead horse for a while. That is not the saying I wanted to say there, but that's a saying I'm going to keep. Good, we are in combat mode. Are we seeing the target? Yes, we are. Are we broadsiding? Yes, we are. Oh, pause, and that was from the machine gun. That is from the minigun. There it is. Straight away, going straight through the target and detonating it. And since it exploded and moved upwards, some of the other shells went through here as well. And that is armor piercing. The shell went straight through regular metal. Oh, Maybe I should detach myself from the turret, that would be a good idea. We're playing keepy-uppy with the first ship, aren't we? And there goes the second as well. I can't wait to face a bulwark with this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I feel a bit cruel so far. But I'm okay with it. I am completely okay with it. There's so many shots. Now it's gone under the water, our accuracy has massively diminished. We have no ability at the moment to track submarines. I've only just thought of that, so I will be adding sonar and stuff as soon as I have 5 minutes to myself. Which will be straight after this recording. I love rapid-fire guns. I like them so much more than the larger caliber weapons. As much as increasing the gauge for some huge shells is very cool, the rapid-fire miniguns and that style of weapon I will always prefer. I wonder, if we go into the campaign options down here, here are our current settings. We have godly designs and we have a very fast growth factor. If we increase difficulty modifier, does that increase the rate the enemy will reinforce? No, it seems to just deal with how much damage you're dealing and how much damage they're dealing to you. So it is just a waiting game for them to start reinforcing faster, but the thing is, we've taken so many of their resource zones, they're not reinforcing quickly even with this. So I'm just going to press forward, I guess, to see if we can see anything more interesting, though I do really need the tiny satellites. This is perfect. The final battle of the day will be against the only thruster craft of the Onyx Watch, a vehicle which has killed me numerous times in previous playthroughs, both for YouTube and just when I've been playing the game myself. I don't think it will stand very well against the Battleship, but either way, it's such a cool vehicle to fight. And begin. This time around, I'm going to very quickly pause the battle before it even starts. I'm slowly getting better about the idea of capturing the battle. The enemy is already firing at us with very fast-moving advanced cannon shells. Let's see how we can do. Now, before the battle starts, please bear in mind two things. First of all, faster shells get deflected better by shields, so the machine gun won't be too great here. And secondly, I don't have degraded mode on, which means there will be some stutter lag during this fight. It's almost guaranteed. There's the minigun shots, and there's the stutter lag right on cue with so many shells being hit. Very effectively shearing off one of its turrets at least, and then firing far too high. Try again, minigun, I believe in you. Its laser defense system is taking out almost all of our cram shots. Incoming minigun again, and... wow. Double wow, triple wow, quadruple wow, lots of damage being done there, and once again the minigun fires. The problem is it's taking quite a long time to find its next location to fire at, since it is trying to fire at vulnerable locations. And it's just, yeah, taking far too long. I need to do something about that. Oh, I see what's been happening. So the big problem is that right now we have no recoil suppression from the advanced cannons, which means our ship is tipping over far too much. So every time the minigun fired, it tipped over, and thus it simply couldn't fire anymore. That's what was causing the breaks of firing. Originally I was thinking perhaps it was purely because I couldn't detect it well enough, or perhaps because it couldn't find the location on the ship. It's more a matter of the ship was so tilted it couldn't fire sideways anymore. Now it can though, it's pretty much acting like a laser. Okay, that's actually a really easy fix, and the reason why this is happening, like I say, is there's no recoil suppression currently on our new gun, because I just didn't bother to do that yet, and also, I normally have roll blades working on the side of the ship, and these are much bigger than this, but I ended up scaling them down just to make sure I could fit other things, and clearly I need those back. So this fight, although it wasn't too spectacular, did showcase a few issues I will fix off camera. Degraded mode back on, and instantly the FPS goes above 50. So with that, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's episode. If you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths, the Onyx Watch campaign, is a series you wish to see continued in the future. So next time, we're going to be pushing forwards even more. We're going to be creating a tiny, adorable spy satellite, and we're going to be fixing the issues we've seen with the Battleship today. I really do believe the minigun is a very good weapon, but that was a terrible showing of it, since both the accuracy and the amount it could even fire were both being limited by the massive amount of recoil it was giving the ship. So issues were found, and issues will be fixed. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.